Hi, my name is Matthew Gaughan. I'm one of the members and elders at the Renfrew Baptist Church. I just want to do a quick case study as to how we put together our live stream setup. We're a small church. We have probably about 30-40 people normally turning up on a Sunday. Not a big budget. And many of the solutions we looked at the time whenever COVID all kicked off were really untenable in terms of cost or even something that we could front cost-wise in any shape or form. So looking at a very small church, small budget, I just want to show you as to what we've came up with as a solution. Going back to whenever we first started all this off, we were initially just using an iPad Pro, had a TRS adapter into the side of it, into a small mixing desk, and one microphone for the preacher, and a mic going across to a microphone for our worship leader, and then a DI box for the guitar, all going into the one mixing desk. It worked okay of a fashion. We literally were pinching to zoom in for lyrics, and we had a TV that we connected up to our presentation device just so we could show lyrics. So where we went from that was looking at options of streaming. So we wanted to have, at one point, a plan for individual people streaming from their home and then live mixing it online. You know, with the best one in the world, I guess broadband speeds just aren't up to that. The system itself wasn't really up to it either. And as things have moved on, we've been able to start meeting back in the church. So I'll just show you a quick kind of run through of what we have just now. So these are seats all spaced out 2-meter intervals, couple of compound seating over there. We're quite blessed in that we're able to do that because we don't have pews. A couple of years ago, we took the pews out of the church. So that we're actually able to have people back in service now, which is great. But we want people to be able to continue to worship online, and it's been invaluable being able to do DVDs of the services that we've done, and we've been able to do that, and I'll talk through how we managed it. So first things first, we went for a PTZ camera by Logitech. It's the PTZ Pro 2. Really good little camera. We saw a couple of people in the States using it, largely in auditoriums that have no natural light. As you can see, we have tons of natural light, and that's been a bit of a problem. We'll come on to how we've tried to work our way around that. So our PTZ camera, I'm just on a monopod here, so just stick you up. That's her up there. So she just sits up there, does her thing. It's got a couple of presets, so we only have one camera. As you can see, it's not a very big church, so our pastor preaches from there. We used to take communion from there, but we now take it from there. And our worship leader stands there behind that Perspex screen, just to avoid spittle coming out and attacking people. Our band is just one person just now. We haven't figured out a way of getting more people involved, but we're working on that. So anyway, our PTZ camera feeds down via USB. So there are like Ethernet options for it, but the reality is they're just very expensive. So the PTZ, I can't remember what the line is called. I'll put a description in the link below about it, but there's some very nice ones you can get, but they are megabucks. That one wasn't expensive at all, and for what it cost, I think it was well worth it. I think it was maybe about £600. I could be wrong. I'll put a link down in the description below. So and we have our USB comes down, comes across, and then into this. We had to build a new machine. We were using a 12-year-old Macintosh that just had it. It was a little iMac, so it wasn't even that fast from what the most optimal one would have been back in the day whenever it was first released. So we made this one based on a gaming configuration because we knew we wanted to have 3 video outputs on it, so it has a decent graphics card in it. So I'll just talk through the setup for it. So we're using Worship Extreme, which we find to be really good. It's nice just being able to click our way through things, have presets set up. Also, our worship leader actually has a tablet. It's just a Samsung tablet, nothing expensive, and we paid for a package with it that wasn't very expensive again. That means he can get the music files that he wants teed up for the week. He shares them onto the cloud, and then it syncs back onto this computer. So there's none of the whole coming in and going, oh gosh, what song are they wanting to do today? Haven't got the setup for that one, haven't got the lyrics for it, having to go and find the lyrics for it, having to record where you got the lyrics from, etc. It's all just there. So we just have like a default set. I'll try to show you this. So we have an announcement reel that just flicks through, and you can hopefully see that on the projectors up there. Then we have a welcome reel, then we have one music set, and then we have a share time, just sharing what God's done in our lives throughout the week. Sermon, which we're just able to import using PowerPoint. So Brian, our pastor, will do it on his iPad Pro, and then he'll sync it up to this. And then it all gets added into it. Then we have one for communion, another music set, and then we're done. And that's just that was our set from this week. Now, the reason why I said we need to have 3 monitors, we need one to be able to control Worship Extreme. We also wanted to have one to be able to monitor what we're doing with our live stream. So we had played around with a whole lot of different options for our live stream software. And eventually we settled on OBS, which is free, and actually really, really good. So one of our guys, one of our elders in fact, Keith Little, he unfortunately was furloughed during the COVID time, but fortunately for us he was furloughed, so he was able to really put a lot of time and effort in terms of getting the presets set up for this, so they just look really, really pro. So we have a number of presets for different times of the service, so I'll show you an example of that. So that's the announcement reel. And if I just go to presentation only, oh sorry, this is an absolute gem. So this is a Lego Stream Deck. This thing has been an absolute godsend. You can control the entire presentation, the entire live stream just from this. It's basically an endless live macro system where you can set up composite macros to work one after the other, and you can label the buttons. So we have a setup for camera only. You can see that, it shows the camera only. We have a setup for lyrics. I'll just get a lyrics slide up there. Hang on, it didn't work. Okay, there you go. So that's the lyrics, plus we have a little video stream there, and that's looking at the stage. And then we have another one for communion that again just makes it a little bit less subtle if we want to have like a quieter time of reflection. And then we can have just a presentation only if we want that, depending on what one, or you can just have camera only. And it's worked really, really well. I've been really thoroughly impressed with it. But yeah, OBS required some setting up. Worship Extreme required some setting up to get them all to link in nicely together. We have been streaming just onto Facebook Live. Nice thing about Facebook Live is it stores all the information for you. So I know my parents' church have been recording an analog and then uploading the analog to a digital format somewhere else. That's a bit complicated. We wanted to have minimal effort because it takes 2 guys to run this, it really does. You could do it yourself if you're really, really pushed, but by the time you've done the audio, control the camera, control the Stream Deck, it just becomes really too complicated for one person to do it. But Facebook obviously save all the videos. We often get copyright strikes on it where they'll mute like a section of the audio because we play a bit of live music. We have a license for it and we keep on complaining to them about it, but they don't seem to do anything. So it seems to work really well for us. Also, you can store the videos on Facebook, so you can go and get them at a later point. So that's the kind of the PC-based stuff. Just giving an idea of the system specs. So we built this off of a Ryzen 7 2700X chip, 16 gigabytes of decent RAM. We're running Windows 10, and I think it's a GTX 1660. I mean, it's not epic gaming stuff, but it's pretty decent. It's not gonna slow down. It's a punchy machine for sure, and what we're doing with it doesn't challenge it. So that's the PC kind of setup. Now, just coming on to the audio setup, before we had a semi-digital desk, which is slightly irritating in some ways. So we wanted to take a signal from the desk and put it out to the PC. And initially we were doing that through the digital component of the desk. The only thing is, it's difficult to mix audio for in-service as well as on the stream. So we ended up taking another option where we used a Beringer digital analog converter, and we output one of our monitor channels into that, which means we have independent control for the live stream. So we just adjust for, I think it's monitor channel 2, adjust that for the live stream, and we can monitor that live using a set of headphones. The main building can be then adjusted independently of the live stream, and it keeps it pretty tidy. It seems to do the job well. our desk is probably getting a little bit long in the tooth, our mics are a little bit long in the tooth, but hey, it's a small church and that seems to be par for the course, and that's okay. I think we're doing okay for that. So that's the audio setup. We try to separate things out as much as we can. So the guy who is doing the audio will literally just stand here. The guy who's doing the video sits down there, and the two don't really speak to each other that much. But the guy who's doing the audio also controls the remote for the PTZ camera. So if I point at that, the PTZ has obviously pan, tilt, and zoom. So that's it across to our worship leader. And that's it across to our service. So whenever we're doing the transitions, we tend to put up a splash screen, which is that. So that just kind of allows us a bit of time to flick between one to the other. And if we keep a little eye on it, then we're okay. We can actually monitor properly what's going on. So the chap who's on the desk will be looking at that monitor, and that's why we wanted to have 3 monitors, because we wanted to have that one for the worship extreme, that one for the monitoring of everything. I should say as well too, we actually have an IR repeater that we bought, just a cheap one, that takes the IR signal from there and then points it up to the camera. It's mounted up there somewhere so we can get direct access to the camera. So that's the audio-visual aspect of it, I guess. Now, being a church, as I said before, that has a lot of natural light, it caused a bit of a problem for white balance, so the camera would quite regularly just go to a really blue tinge or try to white itself out as it was adjusting for exposure. Because although I think our church building looks nice, I think we've got like dark paint there, it's a pretty modern look, it's nice and bright generally, but it's really difficult for a camera to get some contrast distribution between black and white, given we've got a white background, like pale wood floors, and a almost black grey kind of deck thing and wall paneling around the place. So what we did really cheaply was got some LED lights. So you're going to get blinded by this. Up there is a 50-watt LED. Up there is a 50-watt LED. We have a couple of power cans up there too that we can use for RGB things. We tend not to use those that much. The output from them is not great, but the LED floodlights were just really cheap ones, like £7 on Amazon. We got barn doors for them as well too. So it's Neewer, the cheap camera knockoff brands manufacturing company, and they do these barn doors. We cable tied them onto it, and it just gives us a little bit of control that we can not flood the entire front of the church with light. But if you're up here, it's not that bad. You don't feel like you're being intimidated by a spotlight. It's pretty good. So that works. So, and I was saying, sorry, too, the computer obviously does the presentation as well for the projectors. So the monitor 1, 2, 1 is the Worship Extreme, 2 is OBS monitoring, and then the 3 is the one that outputs to the 2 projectors. It's just a VGA comes up, and then we have it's an HDMI to VGA, and then it comes up to a VGA that we had here historically. Controls these 2. And then we have options for a 3rd monitor channel that goes down there, because we had thought at one point of putting a TV monitor that the pastor or whoever's preaching could keep an eye on what's going on, because whenever you're up here, it's pretty isolated. There's not a lot of feedback in terms of what's going on elsewhere. I don't know if you really need it. Anyway, hope that was helpful. Mikey, you want to say bye-bye? Bye. Bye. Micah says bye. Hope that was helpful. It's the way we've figured it out. I'm sure there's things that we've done wrong. It's been a real work in progress to get to the point that we're at. We continue to hone it and tune it. We just want to be reaching people for Christ, and yeah, hopefully this maybe helps you possibly do that as well too. Thanks very much for watching. Bye.